Hi folks, Wooden Boat Dan here. Just wanted to give you a heads up. The podcast you're about to listen to was recorded several years ago, so some of the phone numbers, email addresses, website links, and time-sensitive information are no longer valid. Please keep that in mind as you listen. If you'd like to contact me, my email address is woodenboatdan@gmail.com. Thank you and enjoy the podcast. Welcome to Hooked on Wooden Boats weekly podcast episode number 161. I'm your host today, Dan Matson, aka Wooden Boat Dan. If you can't do it, nobody can. And this is the world's first podcast, the very first in the world, fully dedicated completely 110% to celebrating the art, craft, history, tradition, romance, and special uniqueness and fun things about wooden vessels around the globe. Thanks for joining me today for the podcast. We have a special segment today. It's an interview with a gentleman that I recently met. He's a special guy, and he's a really excited guy. His name is Dave Clark. And Dave is starting a foundation that's purpose is to restore and use a Miki class tugboat, wooden tugboat built in 1944 in Grays Harbor, Washington. And Dave is one enthusiastic guy. After talking to him on the phone, I got pretty excited about doing some stuff myself. He's very passionate, so I would encourage you to stick around. It's a really fun interview. Lots of cool information about this tugboat that he started working on and the plans he has for that boat for the future. So you're in for a special treat today. Today's podcast is sponsored by Duckworks Boat Building Supply in Harper, Texas. Duckworks has all kinds of supplies for building, maintaining, restoring, fixing, fiddling with, and messing around with boats. They've got plans, they've got sails, they've got hardware, they've got resin, they've got fiberglass cloth, they've got screws, they've got tools, they've got anchors, they've got lights, they got buoys. They got everything, folks. So check it out. Easiest way to do that is go to hookedonwoodenboats.com/duck. They also have a large assortment of hardware for rudders, such as pintles and gudgeons. And if you can spell gudgeons, you can enter the National Spelling Bee. Anyway, if you'd like to look at some of those rudder parts, you can go to hookedonwoodenboats.com/rudder. That'll take you to the page there with all the rudder hardware. So I would encourage you to check out the website and buy some stuff from Chuck and Sandra Lineweber. They're really great people, have a really cool business, and it's a home-based business, which I always like to support those. So thanks for checking it out. Speaking of checking it out, millions and millions of people around the world buy stuff from Amazon. And if you buy stuff from Amazon, I would appreciate it if you would go through my link. If you do that, I make a small commission, which helps support the podcast, the cost of doing this. That link is hookedonwoodenboats.com/Amazon. So if you click through that link and then make your purchase within 24 hours, it doesn't cost you any more to do that. And I make a commission that's around 4%. And that really helps a lot, folks. So thanks in advance for doing that. Recently, I've had some people buy some tools and things on Amazon. I mean, they've got a lot of stuff, so check it out when you get a chance. hookedonwoodenboats.com/Amazon. I do have an almost monthly electronic newsletter. If you'd like to subscribe to that, go to hookedonwoodenboats.com/subscribe. And I'll collect your first and last name and email address, and you'll receive that letter, and I'm past due again. But I'm going to try to get one out this month, so check it out if you haven't already. So I did work on my scamp this week, and I'll tell you what I did. I had this idea, a week or so ago. I started working inside the boat. enlarging the access holes between the bulkheads. And I had the boat on the trailer, and then I put it on a tarp in my garage, but it was really low, and I had this idea it'd really be cool to be able to roll the boat outside on a dolly and work on it outside on nice days, and then roll it back in the garage when I wanted to. So what I did yesterday is I built a 2x4 dolly and actually screwed the boat to it in 4 places and put some nice 4-inch or 5-inch casters underneath it. Got it all balanced up and trued up and raised the boat I think it's about 16 inches off the ground now. And that puts it at a really good working height for me. And I can roll the boat outside and work on it, which is really cool. On nice days, just having all that light and having sawdust blow away. And it's just, I like to be outside working when I can. So that's what I spent. I spent a couple hours doing that yesterday, so I'm pretty excited. This weekend I should be able to crank on the bulkhead access and then start cleaning the inside of the boat, figure out what my next move is. But anyway, that's what I did, was I built that cradle, which is pretty cool. And I'll put a picture up probably on Facebook that'll show you that. So check it out. Okay, we're going to move on to the interview with Dave Clark with the Dominion Tug. And his website is dominiontug.org, so check that out too. So let's roll the tape with Dave. It is February 15th, 2015, and I'm on the phone with Captain Dave Clark. Dave, welcome to the podcast today.
Thanks so much. This is awesome.
Yeah, good to have you on board. And Dave connected with me probably a month or so ago, found the website. He's working on a really cool project on an old tugboat, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But Dave, thanks for reaching out. Give us a little personal biography of yourself, maybe a little bit about where you grew up and how you got into boating, and a little bit about wooden boats for you.
Okay, yeah, I kind of grew up along the West Coast as a kid, and but I think the first time I really sort of remember, specifically boating and stuff, we lived in Coos Bay at the time, so of course that's highly salty, and so I think that really impressed on me early on, and I just had a passion for boats in general. So kind of as I was around that, really got affected by them, I believe. But then we moved to Phoenix, and I kind of grew up there, so my boating career sort of in that regard ended at like 9 years old. Kind of it was a different kind of boating there, but I'm the kind that can find like a floating piece of flotsam and I see a boat. So down there it's, flat bottom water ski racing boats. And so we did a little bit of that. And so then I moved back to Seattle in 89, specifically to go boating. So I came here and started working on the local charter boats in Lake Union and the party kind of charter boats. And then one of the boats began to sort of spread out. So we started doing tours in the San Juan Islands, kind of the chasing the whales and, taking 3-day tours. And then he bought a boat in Florida, and we went and got that and brought it back around. And he's converted it now. It's Jeff Barron's with Fantasy Cruises. And he's got a boat called the Island Spirit. He does mini cruise ships up in Alaska. And so for all those years, I'd been listening to him talk about this wooden tugboat that he wanted to buy someday and take to Alaska. And, just over the years of us traveling around up and down the waters and everything, I kind of knew all about this boat. Well, then I ran across it about 10 years ago after he bought it, and he had done a lot of work on it. And then I didn't see it for 7 or 8 years. And about 2 years ago, I saw it on Craigslist, so I just called him. I had a piece of property in Port Townsend, and we just made an instant deal. I said, I got a piece of land, and he's like, I'll take it. And so I got it on mid-December in 2012. And pretty bad state, but structurally he had put several $100,000 into it, and his wife finally cut him off. And so I took over then, and we've been working on it ever since. So I got the boat, and we've now put together an infrastructure. I'm sorry, I will just go on and on.
No, that's okay. I was going to delve a little bit more into your biography earlier on there.
Sure.
When you came to Seattle, when did you get your captain's license?
I got my captain's license. I think I've had it 6 years ago now.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, so I kind of got started on the Lake Union, Lake Washington, and expanded out. That's where we got the ocean going thing later in the end. And then I got this. I had a manufacturing business and had nothing to do with boats for a handful of years, and I was just kind of like I always wanted to do it, so I got it. And then this thing came along, and we just so that came about 6 years ago. I finally had all the credentials all those years. I just had to go back and recover them and get my licensing.
Okay. So when did you first hear about the Dominion tug then, Dave?
Oh, probably, in around 2005 or 2006 when my friend finally bought it. I'd lost contact with him, but another friend said, he said, "Hey, Jeff finally got that big old tugboat." So it was in Ballard, so I just tracked it down because I hadn't seen either one of them, in 10 years or so. And he had the back end all, torn off, and he was putting tankage in and things like that and doing all the big structural work. And so I climbed all over it then, and then I didn't see it again for about 7 or 8 years.
Oh, really? Okay. And then that's when you saw her on Craigslist?
Yeah, he had it on Craigslist, and I knew that, there's only going to be so many of these things in the world. So I scrolled to the bottom and I saw Jeff and a phone number. So I kind of knew it was him. And then, so I just called him up on the phone, and we just made an instant deal, and then I just been taking it over. I took it over since, like say December of 2012.
So you traded your property in Port Townsend for the boat, huh?
I'm sorry?
You traded your property for the boat? Okay, so we're back. We had a little drop on Skype there. So Dave, I think the last thing happened there was I was asking you, you were talking about, or I had asked if you traded your property for this tugboat, the Dominion. Is that right?
That's correct. I had a little building lot in Cape George, Port Townsend, and that I wasn't going to do anything with, and so and he was looking to get out. So it was a really literally just I called him and said, "Hey, I saw your boat on Craigslist. I'll trade you for a piece of land I had." And he said, "Okay." That was literally the discussion. And I hadn't talked to him in probably 7 years. So but we were that good of friends. Through what we had done with the boats and stuff over the when I first got up here in the 2000s, we bonded pretty close anyway, so it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, that's funny. So give us a history of Dominion Tug and some of the specifications on her.
Sure. Well, Dominion is one of 61 Miki class tugs, and they were really a dominant force in the tugboat industry in their reign of time. And, they go back to, the thing about the Miki tugs is how relevant they are to Seattle and the local Pacific Northwest area. They were kind of a dominant sport. So what happened is a pineapple farmer, Jack Young over in Honolulu, had a boat built, the Mayho, over here like in, the early 20s. And then as his business expanded, he towed a barge between the inner islands for pineapple trade. So he came to Seattle and had a boat called the Miki built. And it was basically what you see today. And it was, a Coolidge design, which is a local and very famous naval architect. And they got in together and designed, this boat. And it went back to Hawaii, and it was quite the thing in Seattle at the time. That was a lot of money to be spent, $500,000 or a couple $100,000 or whatever it ended up being, but a lot, And so there was debutante balls and big things about it. So there's quite a lot of documented history from there, so they were easy to track. Well, then when the war came along, they built 61 of these, 51 on the West Coast and 10 on the East Coast, and they built they used the native woods, and one of the reasons they picked the Pacific Northwest was because they had the skill sets to manage these gigantic logs that this thing is made out of, and so when the military needed these boats for the